and welcome to the Glacially Musical Pouredcast. It's beer, metal, and swearing. As always, it is Nick Cameron of the formerly Glacially Musical that was once a thing and is now this thing, joined by Kowloon Wald Chakas. How we doing today, buddy?
I am keeping out the enemy and keeping the terracotta warriors inside.
I don't know what happened, but I started Googling Kowloon Walled City. I know why, because I was bored and I had time to kill. I'm sorry, beer check. Last time we couldn't hear it, so I'm going to hold it up closer to the microphone. Oh, God, I got my radio voice on when I'm talking real fast. I'm sorry. So this week, going with a Squatters Double IPA. It is absolutely delicious. And I'm going to put that into my 1997 Blues pint glass.
Nice. I have seen that glass before.
I also have, and you've never seen it because we don't record early enough for it to matter. And I've also got the coffee mug from that year to match.
No shit. It's a very reddish color beer there. It's almost like a fruit color, like a punch.
It's a delicious double IPA. It rivals STL IPA for my second favorite standard double IPA. This week I'm wearing my Grave Huffer t-shirt, band out of Joplin, Missouri. If you've ever thought to yourself, if this death metal could use a little ABBA, my boys are your guys.
They don't take themselves too seriously, but they do rock out.
What pisses me off is they play at a place called Blackthorn Pizza Pub all the time, but not the one a neighborhood away.
Okay. Are they a chain or they just happen to have the same name?
It's a Missouri place. There's a couple of them. There's one in St. Louis, I believe, one in Columbia, and one in Springfield. They play the one in Springfield all the time.
I'm pretty sure Blackthorn is not an Irish connotation name. And Blackthorn was the local club to me when I was playing in my first bands that had gigs.
It's one of the few places in St. Louis where you can get Chicago-style pizza.
Not a plus for me, but I get it.
Plus for me.
I'm missing the New York pizza pretty bad. I do have a shot at getting some pretty decent, the only decent California pizza potentially this weekend, but I'll talk about it next week. I have a beer check if you're ready.
I'm ready. Hit it me.
I have a Sierra Nevada Big Little Thing IPA, Imperial IPA in this gorgeous psychedelic purpley can. It looks like
a 19-ounce can?
Exploding. It is a
19.6.
1 pint, 3.2 fluid ounces. I don't do the metric system. 9% ABV. I've been drinking these.
That is not metric. That is that's customary.
All right. I don't do numbers and math.
I didn't hear a good pop. That kind of like farted.
Oh, I don't know. It was kind of pretty good. My mic is over here, so that's why. All right.
Fair enough. All right. How's that? 9% ABV. I have not had that particular Lagunitas beer, and I do dig me some Lagunitas. I almost was rocking some Lagunitas this week.
This is Sierra Nevada.
Oh, I'm sorry. Wow.
But I almost, it's funny though, because it was right next to the Lagunitas in the case, and I was like, I haven't had a Lagunitas in a while, but I skipped it and I got this instead. I have never had this guy.
Fair enough. I do like me a good Sierra Nevada. As viewers who, well, it wasn't in a view, so sorry, but I was rocking the Sierra Nevada Bigfoot 2022 ale, which is one of my favorite barley wines that comes out once a year, a couple of weeks ago.
Right on. Hey, I'm going to take a second and, I'm always trying to get the audience involved here. This is our third official video podcast as a video on YouTube. So if anybody's liking these, not liking these, has some advice or some criticism or some tips, drop a comment because it's on Nick's channel and not mine.
The only thing I will say is I know I'm ugly. Just you don't got to say that one.
Dude, I get so much hate mail about being fat. It's luckily that I don't give a shit anymore because I just look at it as thank you for engaging with my channel, publish, and now I get more, it helps me in the algorithm. But like a lot of people like, look at this fat bastard in his battle vest and his beard. And it's like, I'm a metal guy. Like that's the uniform I came with.
All right, fine. Everybody tell me how ugly I am. Keefy convinced me. But yes, if you are doing this on the podcast and you have been listening on the podcast, Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, what the hell ever. Thank you very much. And I appreciate you listening to this content that we bring you every week. And hopefully it is getting better. Hopefully I am getting better because Keefy is amazing basically every week. I'm the flat tire and I'm fine with that.
I disagree, but okay.
That's why I have good friends. I have good friends to bring me up and, get the pump out. My friends are basically my AAA, but that's besides the point. But if there is anything we could do better, especially me, let me know. Comment, email, whatever. Like me on Facebook. I don't care. Just click something. I would really appreciate that. And if you're digging the YouTube videos, they're going to keep coming because we actually got a better response this week on YouTube than we did on the regular channels. So thank you very much for watching. When I say this week, of course, I mean 2 weeks ago, not this week now as you're listening, because the magic of time sucks. But
time's a flat circle. It doesn't mean anything.
I've lost complete track of time. I feel like Schrodinger's cat all the time. I don't know if I'm alive or dead. This is probably a simulation. I mean, I'm driving an electric car. I'm driving an electric car. I'm happy. I've got a kid that might love me, not 100% on that one. So probably does, maybe doesn't. But either
she's
way,
too young to start hating you. She's not quite a teen, right? Like
she's 11.
Tween. She's a tween,
Yeah,
right?
she's
Officially a tween.
And she's gone through a lot, so she's aged. She's got some emotional maturity. But basically, the fact that I have not overdosed on pills, I feel like is a simulation. And I've never been a pill guy to begin with, so I mean, I don't know why I said pills, but
cheers, everybody. Drink till you can't feel feelings anymore. I spent
or
all
drink
day
till your feelings feel stiffer.
That's good. I thought all day yesterday it was Wednesday, which is today as we record this.
We record Wednesdays typically, unless I screw it up.
I didn't know what day it was yesterday. Woo! So anyway, the beer will help.
And with that, it is now time for the weekly vinyl check. What do you got for me this week?
Oh, I'm going first. I always go first. I was going
to go first. I can go first.
I kind of like you to go first.
All right, I'll go first this week. On Sunday, again, we were working at the new house. Moving day is now 4 weeks away. 4 weeks. We are moving into the new house. So enjoy the view because it won't be there in 4 weeks. But wife needed some time, and she told me one of the antique malls up north County, I mean, not north, but was they're supposedly having a President's Day sale, and she could really use some time with us not in the house. So she could veg out. Totally with that, and, I'm not going to go there, but, totally fine with that. So I picked up a couple of things, went through every record in the entire place. There was no sale, I might add. There were sales, but not where I wanted. But I picked up, starting off with a little bit of Canned Heat.
Yo.
This is their big one, Living the Blues. It's got their major smash #1 hit, which is, of course, Going Up the Country. That is the one everybody knows. And then it's also got Parthenogenesis on side 2, Refried Boogie on part 1 on side 3, and Refried Boogie part 2 on side 4. So it's like 5 great little boogie blues tunes, and then they just got high and just went for it. So awesome. I will say that the best side of music you will ever hear in your life is side 4, not of this, side 4 of Hooker and Heat, Canned Heat and John Lee Hooker.
You've mentioned this before.
Album together. Got it on vinyl. It is something that somebody that I used to spar with online told me about, and oh god, it's amazing. Canned Heat, big fans of the man, the myth, the legend, John Lee Hooker, and they did an album together. It was Alan the Owl Height. I don't know how to pronounce it. It's his last recording. He died actually before it was even released. So check it out. It is amazing. I got that for a little more than I wanted to pay. I think it was $14. Not that $14 is bad. The records are in amazing shape. The sleeve, a little beat up, but I don't care about that. They get beat up. It happens. The other one I picked up, $6. Another classic record. A little bit beat up on the sleeve, and that is Jeff Beck. Beck Ola. I don't know if you can see that because Beck Ola is like pencil thin. Like, I'm not even sure who's in the band on this one. Let's see. Vocals. Oh, Rod Stewart again. Ron Wood on bass. And a couple other guys, and then Jeff Beck. So that is a super group if you want to retcon it that way. I've got another one of their albums. I've got Jeff Beck's Truth. I believe it's the same lineup.
Truth and Flash and There and Back are the three that are my trinity for him, but that's also a very worthy one. Isn't it weird how Ron Wood and Jeff Beck kind of look like twins? Have you ever noticed this? And also Rod.
This. Have you
and
ever
also
noticed?
Rod Stewart had a certain, certain hairstyle. Also, they all kind of look alike.
Have you ever noticed that Roger Waters has done solo records with two of the three Yardbirds?
Not Jimmy Page, the best one.
Not Jimmy Page.
Should have got the best one.
Should have got the best one. I agree.
But he's got taste in guitar players. He's got impeccable taste.
Agreed. That is my vinyl check for this week. I
that
got
is
another
your
one,
vinyl
but
check.
It's not here. So
oh well, then as we said, from now on, now that we're on the YouTube, we're not going to speculate and talk much about what we don't have in hand, right? I have in hand a very cool and unusual vinyl from me. I got this as a Bandcamp Friday recommendation from a special lady friend. I'm not flexing, I'm just sharing. Mm-hmm. This is Gordon Withers, who is an incredible cellist. Oh. And this is Gordon Withers' Jawbreaker on cello. 1 month from tomorrow, I will be going to the first of many in a row Jawbreaker shows in San Francisco, the Jawbreaker Dear You 25th Anniversary Reunion Tour. And so this guy makes his own music, very politically active, donates to a lot of charity. He has done a Dark Side of the Moon on cello full album that preceded this. And then he put this out because Jawbreaker rules, sort of the Nirvana sequel that never was. Green Day got all the hype and should have been Jawbreaker. And look at this beautiful sky blue. I'm going to pull it out. This is on a sky blue pattern, I guess.
Very nice. Both of mine are, 60s pressing, so they're black.
But yeah, very excited. This is on Bandcamp. This is a Bandcamp Friday purchase. Go check it out. This guy's very interesting. I might like to reach out to him and see if he would do an interview with me for Ghost Cult. I know it would be cool. A little out of the ordinary, but I have classical music training, and I love stringed instruments, and I love anything that is like
Whitney Houston.
Wasn't going to go there. I was talking about I love instrumental string arrangement versions of blank. I love Apocalyptica. I like the Harp Twins. I like harpists. I like Seven Sons.
You've heard Graceon then.
I love Graceon. I have several Graceon vinyl. Might even have one of them here. Nice. I love them. They're here. They're Bay Area.
Oh yeah, I knew that. Yeah.
And
there is a band that when you come to town, I will introduce you to. Or possibly
The Urge.
What?
The Urge. I never heard back from that dude, Steve.
I emailed. I have never heard back either. He's busy. He's making hot dogs and
making hot dogs.
I'll take you to his hot dog place. He might be there. You might get 20 minutes with him. But he once cleaned up my garbage and I felt bad. But actually, there was one time I was there. Well, many times I was there with the lead singer of my favorite 90s St. Louis band at the most popular 90s St. Louis band's hot dog stand. It was weird. I'm like, I'm with Joe, the singer from the Finns, at Steve's hot dog stand from the Urge. This is, I don't know how this happened. Anyway, not the point. They're called the Suede Chain. They were imagine the Doors, but in lieu of an organ, they had a string section. So
that sounds really cool. And we know, again, there are modern bands that do this. There are old school bands that do this.
Airborne Toxic Event comes to mind.
Days of Future Past, Moody Blues had a massive impact on me as a child. I went to, again, classically musically trained. I sang opera. I used to sight read bullshit. Anyway.
May I interrupt briefly?
Yeah.
I would like to go back to last week's vinyl check.
Okay.
As you may recall, I bought an album by a band called Goat Horn.
Yes.
I had never heard of Goat Horn. It was $16.66. It was the devil's price, so I bought it. And there was nothing else to buy that I was willing to pay for. But gotta say, really dug it. It was like power doom metal. goes like Sabaton meets, oh, I don't want to say their name, but I'm going to. Sabaton meets The Obsessed, which is really cool. Turns out,
I mean, on paper, that sounds really cool.
Turns out the guitar player singer is now the singer for Cauldron.
That makes complete sense. Okay.
So
that makes sense now. Goat horn, cool logo. Cool. I looked them up a little. I'm gonna try to find some music of theirs that I can get my hands on.
And the Cauldron logo is the exact same font.
The same font.
Except it says Cauldron.
It's like the Black Sabbath. It's not quite the Master Reality font, but it looks like a font that would be on a White Zombie poster in 1993.
Yes, it does. Just put some like white, change the colors up of the letters, and have a picture of his wife scantily clad in black and white, because that's everything he does.
She's in everything. I like, if you were married, she's cool. I think she's cool, Sherry Moon, but it's like, I wouldn't put her in everything, especially after he's had some successful movies and he could cast anyone he wants. Why does he keep casting his wife? She's not a particularly good actress at all.
She's in the movies? I haven't seen it.
She's going to be Lily Munster. I was like, that's a stretch. There's a lot of great actresses in Hollywood. She's going to be as Lily Munster in the Munsters remake they're doing right now. And I have full faith in him to do it. None of people shat on his Halloween movies. I actually thought they were decent, considering the history.
Have you seen Clerks 2?
Of course. To my
why did Kevin Smith cast Jennifer Schwalbach as?
Well, yes, they were together. Actually, that goes even deeper. He was dating Joey Lauren Adams and basically wrote Chasing Amy for her.
About her. That they had broken up, and that was
sort of about her, but also like as a vehicle to make her.
But and he also cast Jennifer Schwalbach as one of the diamond hunters.
Sure, that's in Jay and Bob Strikes Back, and then there's a weird story. She used to be a reporter, and she was sent to interview him, and he hit on her, and they went out, and that was it. That's wild.
That is extraordinarily unprofessional.
Possibly unprofessional on both their parts.
Both their parts, yes.
But
hey, they're still together like 25 years later.
And they have their kid is actually one of the rising up and coming actresses in Hollywood.
There you go. She's a much better actress than her mother.
For a much better actor than her father, for sure.
Well, I mean, most people are. But
not to bring it down a complete notch from this jovial exchange.
Well, we have to bring it up high because I know where this is going. So
you know where this is going, so we're gonna have to bring it back up high. But I am compelled to we're in music. We're not just aficionados and buffs. We're actual lovers of this stuff, right? We're students of music. We're lovers of music. This has been a really shit week in the music world. We lost two pretty great artists, one not all out unexpected, and then the other one was pretty sudden, and I'll just be brief about it because you can go figure this stuff out. So Gary Brooker of Procol Harum died, and he died at 76 years old, had a bout with cancer, lasted a few years, but up until just a few years ago he was touring and performing and active. Procol Harum is not a band a lot of people talk about, but they were hugely inspirational and influential in the psychedelic and progressive rock era. And they have one of the most covered songs of all time. And I'm talking of all time. Yesterday by the Beatles, like it was Stairway, like a lot of people have done this song, A Whiter Shade of Pale. And you don't always know that name of that band, but you know that song when it comes on with that organ intro. It's been in movies and television, hugely inspirational. And very sad that he died, very ill. And then the real one that knocked me personally for a horrendous loop is Mark Lanigan. You've heard me talk about him on this podcast. Even in the last few weeks, I was talking about that book, Sing Backwards and Weep, his life story. He's got a new book that just came out, basically came down with COVID 11 months ago. And he had it so bad, not only did he almost die from it, he went deaf. So you hear stories about like the original strain of COVID giving people like wildly different like symptoms and issues.
And just to be clear, 11 months ago, there were no vaccines readily available.
Right. And this is a guy who has had a lifetime of you cannot calculate the amount of drugs this guy has done. His own book, he tells on himself in his book, I'm not disparaging him, he would tell you himself. He should have been dead 1,000 times. a million times, put himself in so many precarious positions over drugs and his inability to get clean. And he did get clean. He actually got clean with the help of Duff McKagan and Courtney Love, helped send him to rehab and then take care of him, of people who know about drugs and drug addiction.
Yeah, I mean, think about that statement for just a minute. He got clean
Yeah.
with the help of Duff and
He-
Courtney.
He
Okay.
was sent to rehab by Courtney. She paid for it. This Mark Lanigan, most people know him as the singer from Screaming Trees, a band he hated, was a contemporary grunge band. They have a song on the single soundtrack. Here's a bit of music trivia that's terrible. Only Keefy would know these bacon frownies type things. 4 singers on the single soundtrack are now passed away.
Wow.
Mark Lanigan, Chris Cornell, Lane Staley, and Andrew Wood. Brutal. And Nirvana was offered all kinds of money to be on it, and he turned it down because he thought it was BS. He didn't want to be lumped in with everybody else. Turned down good money. Screaming Trees is on there. Nearly Lost You is the song that was the MTV hit. They had several other hits, but they basically imploded after another couple albums, and a lot of acrimony. He launched an incredible solo career. He's got a very, incredible, wizened, whiskey-soaked voice. His solo career is incredible. He is famously on the Mad Season record and was going to be the singer on the second unfinished Mad Season record. You can hear some of that on YouTube. He's on Queens of the Stone Age, so a lot of people know him from those things. And he got COVID 11 months ago. He nearly died. He pretty much went insane from having it. And even when he was coming out of it, his hearing was gone for months, and he thought he was going to be deaf. And he's like, what do I make music? What if I can't hear ever again? That's my whole life, my voice in my ears. He got his hearing back, but he never really came back 100% and just passed away. So, very tragic, very sad, really brutal. A lot of people who've seen a lot of outpouring of discussions about the guy. And like I said, read his books. There's a new one I haven't got to yet, but the first one the previous one that was his life story is unbelievable. I'll spare the storytelling for now, but there's just some unbelievable stuff in that book that'll just make you just shake your head. And and he still came through, and again, he made all this incredible music, and that's what I want to remember him for, the music. But again, check out your heroes, see them when you can, support them with your dollars. You'll hear me say that a lot in the near future.
Definitely do your best to do your best. That's all I'm going to say.
That's all we can do, my friend.
But to quote MTV Music Television in 1989, after the VJ came back after One by Metallica had played. Well, on a lighter note.
Well done.
Thank you very much. This week we are getting close to the end of the Robert Plant solo saga. This week we are discussing the album Now in Zen, which is probably the most famous Robert Plant solo record. That is the first Robert Plant solo anything I ever heard personally. I remember a half-hour special on VH1 at this time with where they played, I think, 5 songs from his solo tour from one of the club shows, and the final song was Immigrant Song. And being the guy who had just gotten into this is 1988, 1989-ish that I saw this, and being the guy who had just gotten into Led Zeppelin in 1986 because he acquired a copy of Led Zeppelin 3, not knowing any fucking thing. Beer metal swing. Playing Immigrant Song, which was the opening track of Led Zeppelin 3, made me like, oh my God, Robert Plant is amazing. I didn't know any of the other songs. But before we get into that, I wanted to go back a little bit and discuss the Shaken and Stirred tour. Hey, Goody, remember playing going to Tootie?
Burgy, durgy, sturgy, burgy.
Shaken and Sturdy. We make it. We make. I got nothing. I should have.
We lost every Swedish listener we probably will ever have.
For the record, those of us who love the Muppets, namely Keefy and myself, the Swedish chef is
Comedy Gold.
Comedy Gold. They did a live show in Quebec and in the Montreal Comedy Festival, and the Swedish chef made poutine and had 4 heart attacks. Tasting the poutine, the poutine. And every time he tasted it, it was so rich it gave him a heart attack. And then a comedian comes on afterwards and he says, I'm supposed to be professional right now, but that was the goddamn Swedish chef. I'm following the Swedish chef. And I'm like, I feel that. Anyway, way off track. Shaken and Stirred. So we discussed that tour a little bit. And I just kind of wanted to throw out the set list on that one. As we discussed last week, Robert Plant at this time was not playing any Led Zeppelin to speak of. So I'm going to throw out the titles and let's see if Keefy can name the albums they came from. Because, I mean, I'm kidding. We didn't talk about that. Starts off with In the Mood, Shoot Me.
Again, how? Why? Why is this song popular? I don't
understand. It's not why is it popular. It's not why did Casey drill it into my ear holes. I actually got a text message today from my friend Danny, who listens to this podcast, who said, I am totally with you on In the Mood. So
all right, thanks, Danny.
Appreciate that. So then we go on to Pledge Pin, which, if memory serves, is Pictures at 11, Pink and Black. Don't know it. But I mean, I don't know the titles. So
all right, just
Little by Little, that was a Shaken and Stir.
That's the only good song on Shaken and Stir. It's a big hit. So
Burning Down One Side, that was obviously 11.
Right, and also the White Knights soundtrack song.
Yeah, yeah.
Legitimate hit song.
Messing with the Mekon Principle, I believe.
That's Principle, you mentioned that one.
Through with the Two-Step, I believe that is Shaken. Yes? No?
No. That's the previous record.
Okay. Other Arms, also Principle of Moments. Slow Dancer, do not remember that title. Now it gets into a little bit of interesting stuff, in my opinion. Rockin' at Midnight, followed by Young Boy Blues, followed by Sea of Love.
Okay.
Yeah, followed by Every Time I Hear That Mellow Saxophone.
That's a cover.
At that point in time, I have to imagine the crowd was ready to murder him. But certainly he's going to come out with a whole lot of love. And, you know, it's like in Star Trek, City on the Edge of Forever, right? You got to pay for your soup. You got to listen to Edith Keeler talk about all the wonderful things. That's how you pay for your soup at that homeless shelter she was running, right? So that's totally fine. I'm sure it's fine. Going into Too Loud, which we all remember that one possibly. And then finishing it up with that Led Zeppelin tune we've all been waiting for. The one, the only, Big Log.
Well, basically, it wishes it was a Zeppelin song.
And then at which point, that is basically me in 1998 walking out of the arena going, how the fuck did Metallica not play For Whom the Bell Tolls?
Yeah, I mean, Robert.
I'm not saying you should have played only Led Zeppelin or half Led Zeppelin or even a third Led Zeppelin.
Just an encore of Zeppelin.
Not even the encore, just like one track. Just close out with Whole Lot of Love.
Or even if it wasn't like a big hit, there are like phenomenal deep cut songs. He could have did the Wonton song. He could have did
Achilles' Last Stand.
Achilles' Last Stand.
Maybe not that one.
Great Minds Think Alike. That's such a Jimmy Page. It is. It's just a Jimmy Page song too. I think.
What's the one about trouble-free transmission? Oh, I can never remember the name of that one.
Yeah.
That was their version of Terraplane Blues.
I think in the evening.
It's not in the evening. It was on Celebration Day.
Okay.
I can never remember it, but there's plenty.
There's no shortage of other things he could have did that were still Zeppelin that people would have been very pleased with. He just would not do it.
And way better than mellow saxophone tunes.
And we talked about how Shaken and Stirred is not a good record, and he's got a quarter of it is on the set list. It's not a good even with Little by Little, it's still not a good record, man.
No, it kind of
Really
harkens
weak.
back to when we talked about Black Sabbath Sabotage and their set list for that tour, which was, I'm
It was
pretty
like,
sure, written up by Cocaine.
what the shit?
Yeah.
No one asked for this, man. That was my line from that whole series. The whole end of that series was like, nobody wanted this. Nobody. But I appreciate Robert's vision for himself, right? You got to believe in yourself.
I
And he was
agree.
demanding.
There are two kinds of solo artists: the kind that lean heavy into their material or lean heavy into the previous band material. Are you Eric Clapton, fucker, or are you Roger Waters? Are you Peter Frampton, or are you Ace Frehley? Are you Ozzy Osbourne, or are you Mark Farner's American band?
Grand Funk.
No, that's the name of his current tour.
Oh, is that his current
entity.
thing? That's horrible.
Or are you Nancy Wilson's Heart?
Oh my God, that is a terrible story.
I read
Do we
it
have
today.
a second to discuss that? Holy shit, that's terrible. And like, why didn't I go out of my way to try to go see them when they were briefly back together? I don't think they're gonna fix this.
I saw that tour. They played
They
played the Battle of Evermore.
I know.
And I cried.
You bastard.
I cried like a little kid with a skin knee.
The quick Cliff's notes of the story is that Anne's married to an asshole who's a bully and a piece of shit. And Nancy's kids got in an altercation with him like 6-7 years ago. The sisters were doing like a Cavalera Brothers split where they didn't talk for a long time. It did get fixed. They did go back on tour as Heart.
I believe 2019.
Yeah, and then the pandemic, which interrupted their plans to do an album and another tour. And now you have Ann Wilson's got a solo record coming out.
Another one? Oh, Ann. I'm sorry.
Ann
My apologies.
has a solo record.
I have
coming
Nancy's
out.
covers record over there somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, they're both putting out records. Nancy had a side band for a while. And I think also what happened is when Ann and Nancy came back together, they fired the rest of their band of Heart, who were their long time, some of them from the 70s or 80s, long time, long suffering, underpaid side people who literally got the axe when they finally got back together. So for years, they were like on tour with Nancy.
If you ever had any question about how much the two of us nerd out about music, here we are, wistfully being upset about Heart breaking up in 2022.
Yeah, I mean, it's not official, but it's kind of, I mean, like at this point, how's it getting fixed? Anne didn't want to work with Nancy's new band that she's kept. Basically, the people Anne and Nancy hired have stayed with Nancy. Anne has a whole new solo band that she wants as her backing band. Nancy has a lead singer that sounds like Anne.
Oh, Journey.
Who's a good singer.
I know.
But in a terrible position because you're going to get shat on by the diehards, and then you're just going to get compared to Ann Wilson, who's got one of the great voices.
Here's what's going to happen to me. I will see them, I'm sure, because I go to 15 to 20 shows a year at our local shed because, well, I just like going there, drinking beer and sitting on the lawn. So hopefully I'll see Jason Bonham's Led Zeppelin experience that same night.
Yeah. God. Anyways, this is a tragedy, but I'll stop.
Moving on.
Robert, speaking of people who wanted to sound like Robert Hart, like Robert, he is who he is, man. He is who he is. He's loved. He will probably go back and say good things about that Shaken and Stirred record. It's a turd, Shaken and Turd. And
it is.
Besides,
I mean, it's the worst thing. It's even worse than the Honey Drippers to me. Which, I mean,
well, again, the Honey Drippers are just wrote covers. It's not inherently terrible. It's just not good. It's not great, exceptional. But then it's a 3-year gap between albums for Robert, and there's Live Aid in there we talked about last week, and touring, and maybe he took some time off. He did it. Shaken and Stirred was again still somehow a hit with Little by Little.
So in 1985, what is he? 35.
Something like that, yeah.
35 and exceedingly rich and still young enough to be able to enjoy anything he wants. Is it any surprise he took 3 years? No.
When he really took 3 years. So he recorded this in November and December of '87, and this came out right. Remember, the record industry used to just bust a record out in 8 weeks from the time the masters were handed over. Incredible.
Oh yeah. Now it takes a buddy of mine was asking me about vinyl pressing, and I'm like looking up pressing plants. Are like 8 months,
8 to 18, depending on where in the world.
Yeah, it used to be you when the Monty Python record we did, they recorded it at the beginning of the run of shows, and it was pressed and released by the end of the run at City Center.
Unbelievable. So Robert fires almost his whole band, except the backup singers.
Time to start over.
Starts over. Somehow
after Shaken and Stirred, you should start over.
You should start over. And he had done 3 records with the core same band, except for Phil and Cozy and rotating drummers, but basically the same writing team. And basically the same producing team. And he comes back after the first new record with Tim. And again, Tim is a growing legendary guy. He's just now building his legend. And he brings Tim back to co-produce the new record with himself. And Robert really picked some good ones when he put this new band together to create the record that becomes Now and Zen.
If I can spoil just as a little bit.
Yeah.
I will say that Pictures at 11 is my personal favorite, but this is the best of the run so far.
This is my favorite. I'll just say this is going to be my favorite Robert album forever for a variety of reasons. It's not just the best record, best written record. I have the most emotional connection to these really excellent songs, to which none of the other records have that anything. Even the Pinnacle, whatever, they don't hold anything. They don't hold up for me like this.
What I love about this one is he's standing on 2 banks of a river. His right foot is deeply into the heart of the Robert Plant era of Led Zeppelin, the last couple of records. And his left foot is deeply into who is Robert Plant solo. And
he figures it out. Yeah, he figured it out. And I think it's like, I don't think he did it because I think he wanted to. Like, now it's almost 10 years. I'll just say, I don't mean to cut you off.
No, you're fine.
So John Bonham.
No, I'm doing this.
Yeah,
yes.
John Bonham dies, but before he died, they were also kind of on a hiatus after Nebula 79. They did not have plans to go in and make another record. It's weird.
I believe they would have broken up by 82.
Or maybe, like I said, I think at least Robert was going to go solo.
Or taking the Queen situation where they're not broken up, but they're not precisely a going concern.
Right, they're not coming back. So I think almost 10 years after the band stops being, Robert wants to do some Robert stuff, not because anyone wants him to, because he was ready to. Also,
he had songs in his heart.
But also he put together a band of guys who are very Zeppelin-y in their writing. Like, it's unmistakable. I have to really shout out Phil Johnstone, rest in peace. He died last year. He really, especially his guitar playing, has a mystical Jimmy Page Zoso feeling about it. Like how his sound is very dry with no effects, how he solos, how he puts little licks and layers in guitar stuff.
Interesting how you bring up, not to interrupt you, except to totally interrupt you. Interesting how you bring up the very Jimmy Page-like solos.
Yes.
Foreshadowing,
immense foreshadowing. But I will say,
I'm gonna real quick. That's the only time I'm gonna say that this week. Hopefully, Backup Beer Centennial IPA by Founders Brewing.
Nice.
Cheers.
Shasta tastes like a lemon soda.
Hey, the Master Blaster drinking up the Shasta.
Yo,
my voice sounds sweet because it has to. Okay.
Hey, so yeah, man. Now and Zen is like kind of the record I wish was, and again, going backwards, those first 2 Robert albums are good.
Correct.
Occasionally moments of greatness.
Correct.
Shaken and Stirred is a turd.
From start to finish.
Just little by little is good, but it's like you can't reward competence because it's competent. Like that's just doesn't
Correct.
make sense.
You know,
It's solid to
when
the
you hit
actual definition of solid.
mediocrity, I'm not going to give you a gold medal.
Yeah.
That was little by little.
Yeah, and that's fine. And then this record is like a breath of fresh air to me.
Where's
When it hit
Honey
my,
Drippers?
I mean, again, I like
I'm
to see it. Love is a
I'm
great
sorry.
cover.
Okay.
It's not
Allow
Robert's
me
solo
to
career.
allow me to put the toothpaste back in the tube. There's absolutely nothing wrong with Honey Drippers if you appreciate that music.
Yeah. What if you're a big fan?
However,
Remember the age of the boomers who were listening to that shit that was like, and that's also their parents' music. It's not even their music.
I know, but you had Jimmy Page and Jeff Beck on the same fucking record.
You could have did anything. And Nile Rodgers.
You could have had
anything.
this. You had. It's like taking the Russian Five from the Detroit Red Wings and going, no, Sergey, no, Ivan, just dump and chase and bang the body like the third line does too.
It's like the Edmonton Oilers trading their entire team to the Rangers so they could win the Stanley Cup.
It's
Anyway.
like it's more like the Blues signing all of those former Ranger, former Oilers in order to win the Stanley Cup, in order to lose in the second round, which
Also
happened
fair.
2 years later.
Also fair.
So
So-
that is my complaint with Honey Drippers.
It's fine.
You
fine.
have all the ingredients and you go, no.
Understood. Fair.
And now we're
fair
going to
and
ignore it
understood.
forever.
So now we're gonna drop it. But Honey Drippers, not a Robert album. It's a collaborative. It's the worst case scenario of a supergroup.
Correct.
I know they serve their purpose. Sea of Love is a very good cover.
Makes the Firm look like Rush.
That's also true. We can get into that another
We don't
time.
have to.
We don't have to. The Department of Metal Antiquities did it for you. We listen to the records, so you don't have to.
Hey, we have a tagline now.
Right. I heard Duncan say it, and then was it
This is why grunge had to happen.
this is why grunge had to happen. That's incredible. To get rid of a lot of these albums. Poor Duncan. Poor Duncan.
I
Duncan
feel
the
bad.
Tall.
I feel bad for him because he keeps doing it.
His brilliant, beautiful ears have to get sullied and soiled by these horrible, horrible records. But anywho,
I'm gonna bring up Duncan in about 2 minutes. So
Robert Plant, now and then, he puts together this killer band. And again, I have to shout out Phil Johnstone, who really didn't have you were trying to say that you think Robbie Blunt is should be like a celebrated guy. I think it's Phil Johnstone who should be the celebrated guy because he comes in and informs Robert's songwriting so heavily, he ends up co-producing the album.
I agree. I completely agree
purpose.
with what you're saying. But Pictures at 11, it feels like the 11th Led Zeppelin record.
Okay.
And that's
Not
why
sure,
I
but-
love it so much.
All right.
This feels like the first real Robert Plant album.
Totally agree. That is what I was it's a complete record. And we talked about this, and that's an idea that is maybe old fashioned now with the streaming era. But in this era, when this record came out, this feels like a complete start to finish, concepted, composed,
Yeah, there's
beautifully made
this,
record,
this
sequenced
feels
beautifully.
like Led Zeppelin did. Led Zeppelin wrote entire records where you put the needle down
Yeah. You
and
don't
the
want to
trip
take it
doesn't
off.
end for 20 minutes.
But it's also like Robert, this is a true Robert record in another
Agreed.
sense, that he really comes in. It's like sort of a beautiful melting pot of the best shit you think of when you hear the words Robert Plant, Led Zeppelin, and also what his goal was as a solo artist to incorporate R&B, to incorporate crooning and just very sensual, sexy singing, to bring in world music finally, like he wanted to all along. And this has been a thing that has guided the whole rest of his career up until now.
Honestly, this could have been the 12th Led Zeppelin record. Or the honestly,
Almost.
the 7th.
Well, no. No.
Had they been on less hair on.
No, I don't think so. I love those records. Those records are fantastic.
But
I would
I'm
like
not-
to have one more record that like Jonesy and Bonzo wrote and made all of with minimal contributions from the other guys and see what they got.
I think
just-
you're misinterpreting what I'm saying.
Okay, maybe.
I'm not saying it should have been.
Oh, I understand. It could have.
It could have been.
Right. So we
Should and
have,
could are different.
like I said, Phil Johnstone, keyboards and some guitar, not much on here. Doug Boyle, very underrated guitar player, still around. Phil Scragg on bass, solid. Chris Blackwell on drums, very good. And again, the only holdovers beside Tim Palmer in the production chair, co-production chair now, is the backing vocals of Marie Pierre, Christy McCall, and Tony Halliday, who I spoke about last week. What you got there? Hey, he's got it with him.
Now, listen to it again today. I've listened to this. The Vinyl Check records that I bought last week, I have not listened to yet because I've been spinning Robert Plant to make sure I don't sound like a dick.
You don't sound like a dick ever, but that's fine.
You are so nice. I wanted to shout out my buddy Duncan because I don't remember where I acquired Now and Zen. I have never, apart from Carry Fire in the latest Alison Krauss collaboration, I have not mail ordered any Robert Plant works, period. I have acquired them just by finding them in the wild, and I don't remember where I got Now and Zen. That is not my first copy of Now and Zen. The first copy I bought somewhere for some price, and then Duncan sent me a European copy of it. And I decided to keep that one, got rid of the American one. So yeah, spinning the European copy.
I do not have a copy of this on vinyl somehow, but I really should because it is.
Well, if
maybe
I had known that, I would have kept it and sent it to you.
Maybe it's my favorite non-Zeppelin member album. That's how much I love this. But we'll get into it. I'm gonna let you lead the track listing this week, or at least side one.
I have taken notes again because I may have mentioned this, but this entire run, I am not streaming any of it. No CD, no digital, anything. Every record that I'm doing this on this series is on vinyl. I have them all. And so side one starts off with Heaven Knows. It is big. It is lush. It's got the 80s gang chorus, which I don't need. A little bit too much synth. And it's a nice return, but only slightly to that Shaken and Stirred. It is rock. It is synth. Robert Plant is moving forward into the decade 8 years after it started.
Well said. I think it's a little heavier than all of Shaken and Stirred. It's a much better song than anything on Shaken and Stirred. Right away, it's
Wild Thing is heavier than Shaken and Stirred.
It's a sonic upgrade. It's a songwriting upgrade. Phenomenal lyrics, poetic lyrics, if you listen to them. I mean, Heaven Knows, Robert has spent his whole life poking at cliches. Like he'll use a cliche for effect, but play off of it the rest of the, create attention. So Heaven Knows you could throw that shit away. He could have sang blah, blah, blah. Didn't matter what it was. It's the words in between that part that make the chorus. And his singing is beautiful, right? It's just like the Robert I remember and want to hear.
Agreed.
And it's not the caterwauling, my penis is big stuff. He's talking about some soulful stuff here.
He said in 2012 when why didn't you get back together? Why didn't you do Led Zeppelin? Those are a young man's words. I'm not a young man anymore. At this point in time, he is 35, 36?
Getting up there.
He's pushing
40.
He's finally at that time in his life where mortality is a thing for him.
Right. So yeah, Heaven Knows, fantastic. Was a hit single also.
Quick question though.
Yeah.
Is there anything special about the lineup on this track? Is there?
Not this track, no.
Yes, this track.
Oh, wait. Yeah, I'm sorry. So I want to let you talk about it. I guess you're gonna.
So what did you think of that guitar solo?
That guitar solo, first of all, it's a guitar solo. Holy shit. And then who is playing that guitar solo?
Do you remember the solo? Because I don't.
Yeah, of course. It's like Egyptian scale / pentatonic scale. Who else does that?
I have no recollection of it.
Who's the most famous guy ever?
I didn't find out who played the solo until at the beginning of the second side. It was Jimmy Page, and I said nothing about the guitar solo. So here we have At this point in time, the fifth Jimmy Page Robert Plant collaboration, post Led Zeppelin. Fifth song. There was one on Outrider.
Okay. I feel like Outrider is after this though.
I believe you're right, because
The
this came out in Feb.
Dates, yeah, this is like literally early 88, and Outrider's the summer album.
Yeah, you're right.
But I mean, like,
Okay,
they were
fourth.
probably recorded at the same time, by the way.
Yeah, probably. Okay, fourth of fifth. And I have no recollection of a guitar solo in that too.
Okay. I mean, it's in there. It's
It
you know what it
probably
is? He's in very Robert fashion, much to Jimmy's chagrin eternally. Robert is, then I suppose, like, colluding the guitar notes.
What happens when a singer makes a solo record?
Kind of. But yeah, man, you know, Page and Plant
Great
just
song.
belong
No,
together.
I mean, no shade. Great song.
They just belong together.
They do belong
Um,
together, but I just feel like when they do these things, they could have done a lot. When it's the Jimmy and Robert stuff.
Well, he didn't write this, and that's the thing you should remember is he didn't write these songs. He just shows up and lays down a part.
I know.
When Jimmy is the architect of his own mansion, you're getting all the little layers and all the workmanship and all the craftsmanship. And when he comes on Jimmy Page as a feature, you're just getting Jimmy Page. You're just getting the drip, 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 the very little bit
Yeah,
at
but
first.
the Jimmy Page featuring in the Puff Daddy song was better than this.
I don't think that's fair, and I don't ever acknowledge that song. So please don't bring it up ever again to me.
Fair.
Anywho, the wrong guy died. Biggie should be alive. Anyway,
Wow.
I'm not a fan of Puffy.
No one is.
Puffy,
Now. No one is now.
Puffy is a fan. I'm a fan of Dave Chappelle pretending to be Puffy on Chappelle Show. So anyway, heaven knows.
I'm a fan of Tracy Morgan pretending to be Puffy. No, pretending to be Suge Knight, making fun of Tim Meadows, pretending to be Puffy.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Weird Al used that before he came out and sang all about the Pentiums.
Interesting. So we've talked a lot about Heaven Knows. Jimmy's on it. Nick's not sure, but he is.
I know they say it, but I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, okay. But again, like Page's designed solos to fit into his songs.
I know.
Not going to be the same when it's not his song.
No.
Dance on My Own is the second song. It's solid. I don't think it's special, but it's decent.
It's a good second track for a record.
Yeah, who's Robert Crash? I don't know who that guy is.
No
that guy's
idea.
got a songwriting credit. Plant, Johnstone, Robert Crash. Decent, like a synth pop song.
That's kind of a lot like what I have written down. I can remember this song. So when a singer does a solo record, it's different than another member of the band doing a solo record. It's different than the guitar player or the bass player or the drummer, because God only knows what those fuckers are doing with their crayons. But when the singer does a solo record, it's always, especially if it's a singer who doesn't write music, Plant, Ozzy, whatever, you're going to get a lot closer to a top 40 record than you are a rock record. And Dance on My Own is very much a top 40 80s kind of, it's a lot more synthy than Heaven Knows and Tall Cool One and the rest of the record, quite honestly. It's a good song. It's like Shaken and Stirred. There's some good stuff in there. This is better than anything off Shaken and Stirred. There's some good songs at Shaken and Stirred that are just ruined by the way they performed them and wrote them.
Fair enough.
But, and that's this song. I mean, it could have been a lot better had there been less of the gang vocals, but it's easy to say nearly 35 years on, if you had been less contemporary, I would like it better decades later.
Fair enough. The third one, which is a fascinating song.
It is. It really is. Beastie Boys.
That's exactly where I was going with this. Tall Cool One is not just a cool song because it's like the most rockin' song up at this point that Plant has had in his whole solo career.
Oh yeah, this is his
Jimmy
fourth
Page.
solo record.
Yeah, and it features Jimmy Page. But
guess.
more interestingly than that, is almost like it's almost like they got beef. They clapped back, and they clapped back at the Beastie Boys, and here's why.
Can I sidebar before you get to that?
Go ahead.
The Beastie Boys have stolen beats from both AC/DC and Led Zeppelin.
And Black Sabbath.
What Black Sabbath one?
Starting up a posse or whatever.
Posse in Effect?
Yeah. It's Sweet Leaf.
Really?
Yeah. Pretty sure. There's definitely some like literally literally the holy grail of riffs and beats is like AC/DC, Zeppelin, and Sabbath back then.
Yeah, the AC/DC track, because everybody's probably thinking, wait a minute, what? The song, the Beastie Boys track was Rock Hard. It was a non-album single on Def Jam Records before License to Ill. And Mike D actually had a conversation with Angus Young about, can we release this on a greatest hits? Will you let us do it? And Angus just smiled and said, Mike, come on. You've been around this business a long time. You know I can't give you Back in Black for free.
Fair enough.
However, it is on YouTube and it is awful. And the B-side is worse.
No way. So the most popular record in the world in 1986 is License to Ill.
Oh my God, such a great record.
It is one of the greatest records of all time, produced by the Rick Rubin. It is a landmark of both rock and hip hop. And I say hip hop and not rap. Legit.
Featuring on Brooklyn,
Kerry King.
Kerry King.
I think he's also in another song too. He's on
he's only specifically credited on Brooklyn.
But he's on another track.
Probably on a bunch of them, really.
Yeah. And then he's like, I don't listen to hip hop. Here he is in the video getting a pie in the face.
No, that was Rick Rubin.
Now he also got a pie in the face. I interviewed Adam Dubin, who directed that video. He's also the guy who did 1.5 years in the life of Metallica and Murder in the Front Row documentaries. And so he talked about Kerry didn't want to get pied in the face on camera. They totally pied him in the face on camera.
Kerry King got pushed away by a man in a gorilla suit.
Yeah, well, that's deserved.
I'm not gonna.
You're a punk bitch. Be treated like a punk bitch.
Okay, let's move back to Robert Plant.
So Beastie Boys literally built License to Ill, not on just the strength of their brilliant lyrics and their crazy comedy, but these like classic riffs and beats that everybody knew. You know, like again, Sweet Leaf, Levee Breaks. Like literally, You Shook Me All Night Long. All these things are on here, and little, Sweet Leaf, all these little riffs and beats.
At that time, the world was different.
The world was different, and nobody pursued legally a lot of times these things. Sometimes they were credited as an interpolation, and sometimes they were not. I just saw some TikTok about Uptown Funk. They were sued 3 separate times for like a total of $50 billion, and they lost each case, and they still made a profit on that record. Wow. Anyway, unbelievable. So Robert gets the idea. I think perhaps his impetus to try to work with Jimmy on this record at all, maybe they were like, you'll be on Outrider, I'll be on your record. But Robert clearly wanted to spoof the Beasties. So this song, Tall Cool One, Long Way to Go to Tell a Story, Keefy, samples Led Zeppelin multiple times.
Like
not
3
well,
tracks.
Badly.
Not well.
Not a good job. And like the song by itself was fine.
Yes.
And I like the coda part of it.
Yes.
But in general, mashing in these things on purpose,
no,
not a great idea. However,
can I say, if you say boogie instead of boogie, don't sample.
Yeah. Whole Lot of Love, Dazed and Confused, Black Dog, Custard Pie, and The Ocean. The Ocean's another one that obviously Beasties used. And the Levee Breaks chorus. While he's like singing, going down and other things in the song. The song itself is not bad, and it's pretty heavy rocking.
It's a good track.
And Jimmy is on there with an actual legit solo. But I don't understand, like, yeah, like I get it and I don't get it. Like in hindsight, this does not hold up as a good track. But this was a hit single.
I
with the
disagree.
video on
This
MTV.
is the best track on the record.
Oh no.
Sorry. However,
You're
I
entitled.
have no recollection of the solo. I was
Oh.
getting into writing my notes for The Way I Feel, the next track, and I went, wait a minute. Is there a solo on this one? The Jimmy Page tune?
I think they're hidden. They're like low in the mix.
That is the problem with these collaborations, because they did, what is it? They did 2 on Honey Drippers, 2 on this, 1 on Outrider. So they've done 5 collaborations. And of 4 of the 5, you would never know Jimmy Page was there, which foreshadows to Welcome to Clarksdale.
I think he had to have Jimmy credited on the track anyway to use those other songs and get Jimmy's permission as the author of those songs. But I don't know, not the best execution, but okay. I understand if you like this song. It is definitely rocking. Robert sings great. It is like a sexy throwback to like Whole Lotta Love.
My notes say literally, it is impossible to dislike this song. That is all I wrote. Here we are.
All right.
My notes are a lie. Apparently.
I don't know that I love it. I like it. Moving on. Closing out side 1, The Way I Feel. Another decent synth rock track.
Yeah, I agree with that.
There is some really cool guitar in here by Doug Boyle.
It's hard to describe the guitar on this record. It's hard to describe the music in many places, because in like this one, a little bit different because it's more back to the basics, but Tall Cool One, Dance on My Own, the music gets a little bit weirder, which is great because he's bringing in the Far Eastern influences in Western music, not American, but which American is Western, of course. But in Western music, you have 2, 3, or 4 beats per measure. That's what it is. You have these, and you don't have these large clusters. In Indian music, what is it, up to 32 notes in a measure? The standard on the ragas. And he starts bringing in these in a Western sensibility, an odder feel. And this is the first time I feel like we get that Robert Plant doing that thing, because he and Jimmy Page went to India, went to Pakistan, went to all of these Far Eastern nations that weren't Japan or China around the time of Physical Graffiti, around the time of Into the Outdoor and Presence, in order to find, as they put it on the Mighty Boosh, the new sound. They found it, they didn't use it. Robert Plant held on to it later. And now on Now and Zen, we're getting that new sound, which for us, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, that's what makes sense in our mind. And now we're getting these.
Yeah, don't drum while we're recording.
Sorry, I was doing that on purpose though.
Oh, okay.
I mean, that was not me. That was not me waiting for you to talk. That was actually me doing that.
No, but I'm saying, like, I think it interferes with the listeners.
Fair. I'm also bad at it, so.
Yeah, I'm not the most rhythmic person either. I play music for 20 years.
I play guitar, not bass, for a reason.
Yo.
Hey-o.
So The Way I Feel is solid. I do, like I said, I do feel like between Boyle and Johnstone, the writing on here definitely feels like mid to late Zeppelin. On purpose, like it definitely pulls you into those.
But it doesn't feel like that. It feels like a hearkening to that.
Well, yeah, I mean, Robert wouldn't want it to sound exactly like it. It would offend him.
It's a 3-scoop sundae, and that's one of the scoops.
But Robert would take the banana out because he doesn't like bananas, and he doesn't want to be bananas when that's what he was known for before, his banana. Side 2.
Wait a minute. Cut it out.
Hey.
Now that we're on YouTube, look, if you're not watching YouTube.
Rest in peace, Bob Saget.
Miss you, buddy.
That's
Flip the record. Flip the record.
Flip the record. Sip a beer. And get ready. For some reason, at this point.
Sip with me. Sip with me.
For some reason, the songs start getting longer, except for one. I don't
Wait,
know
did
why.
you go 9 tracks or did you go 10?
I did 10.
I only got 9 because I don't have the CD.
All right, no
So
problem. It's a cover and it's not that it's nondescript anyway. So
What?
9.
You can have it or you can scratch it. I don't care.
Yeah.
Moving on to Helen of Troy.
Yeah.
And this is my favorite conceptual song on this record. Not the song itself. It's not a bad song. It's not terrible. It's a good track. But when Robert Plant starts his 80s solo career, because we are at album 4, and think about album 4 for Ace Frehley. It took him to 2008 to make it. Think about album 4 for Roger Waters. It took him to 2017. Think about album 4 for Ozzy Osbourne. That's not fair because he went hard. But the first record is very much in the vein of what he was doing. The second record is starting to walk away from that. The third record is, hang on, let's be contemporary. And this track, Helen of Troy, looks back at Shaken and Stirred in my mind and just goes, no, this is over. I am finally going to be the Robert Plant, the musician that I want to be. And here we have, he stabs Shaken and Stirred in the heart. He stabs Pictures at 11, Principle of Moments, and starts off in a new vein. And that is the vein he has continued on to this day.
That's fair. Good singing on this one too, like really good singing.
Good. That's like saying Andre Agassi waxed the ball well on a tennis.
Well, but Shaken and Stirred
know.
has good singing on bad songs. So like this is a good song with good singing. I don't know.
Agreed.
Yeah, I don't have much else on that one. That's a good one.
We're into the underbelly.
Oh, I don't disagree.
Well, you know what? Billy's Revenge. I'll let you talk on that one.
Yeah, Billy's Revenge is a solid rockabilly rock song. The Plant affecting his Elvis Presley crew like he likes to do.
Plant loved that kind of stuff.
He loves Elvis. And I'm sure. And that's okay. I don't love Elvis or hate him. I love Graceland. I think that's a wonderful album. I think Elvis.
Wait, you mean the Paul Simon record?
Oh, I'm sorry. No. Elvis's Graceland album is his gospel record in '68, not the Paul Simon record named for Elvis.
The only gospel record I have is Johnny Cash.
Oh well, no, there are many. Gospel is a wonderful.
I know. Wait, no. I take that back. I also have Sister Rosetta Tharpe.
Nice. She was really the first real rocker.
I know. She was gospel rocker.
Could be. I'm now going to talk about the best song on this record and the best song of Robert Plant's entire career outside of Led Zeppelin. Bar none, without equal. Ship of Fools. This song is a masterpiece, a 5 minutes and 1 second long masterpiece. I love this song. Everything about it is when incredible guitar, opening guitar lick. That's like Spanish guitar under Segovia, Paco de Lucia. Very, very philosophical, wistful, I'm getting to be an old man lyrics, incredible singing, catchy chorus, excellent synthesizers, not too overwhelming, just nice, literally an undercurrent, like water under the waves, under the bow of the ship, supporting it. Very chill backbeat. I know Robert was very critical. When I was realizing like who's Robert Crash and who's David Barat, these are guys who came in and did like sequencing and electronics on these albums, which is why like the engineers list of this album looks like a rap record in now with a bunch of people contributing little bits and pieces, which Robert was critical of later. But Ship of Fools is the one place it really worked beside Helen of Troy and Heaven Knows. And this is without a doubt my favorite Robert Plant song outside of Zeppelin. It is a masterpiece. I can't say it enough.
I would agree with a lot of that. Oh my God, I said
We're gonna just do that sometimes.
I know. I just wish I didn't.
Me too.
But with this track, it feels
sensible. You know, if you look back at the Robert Plant lyrics, he's either singing old blues tracks, he's singing about Lord of the Rings, if the ring were a chick, a lot of goofy crap. He yelled Strider in the middle of shows because that makes sense. Oh God, twice. But he is now moving into middle age, which, being as I choose to be in middle age till the moment I die, it's a good place to be. And he's just changing, you know. He's not, that's, and I when you hear songs like Ship of Fools, let me rephrase, when I hear songs like Ship of Fools, I understand completely what he said in 2012. Those are young man's words, and I'm not a young man anymore. And when I look at what I see 55, 60-year-old men talking about with rock music and what they still look back on and love, and the arrested mental development of some of those people that I see, and then I hear a song like Ship of Fools where Robert Plant is going, I'm not that guy anymore. And you don't have to accept me, but that's not going to make me pretend to be that guy. And this is Robert Plant saying, the world has changed and Robert Plant has changed. You can either come with me, or you've got 10 Led Zeppelin records you can go back and listen to.
Right on.
That,
Beautifully said.
that is exceptionally powerful. There are not many. Roger Waters, whose tires I pump on a regular basis on this podcast, could not do that.
No.
No.
I will also say that in a complete button on the nose type of thing, this song was used in the final 2-hour episode of Miami Vice while people are on a boat, because music producers for TV shows are idiots. Don't spill your beers. But
Let me swallow. Oh my God.
Well, time your sipping to my talking then. Sorry, the world does not revolve around me.
No, it revolves.
Literally, they're on a boat in a bay and this song comes on and it's like, God damn it. Like, it's not what the song is about, literally.
Or
also,
figuratively.
Also, when Robert performed solo at the infamous Atlantic 40th anniversary concert, which is where Metallica Stone Cold Crazy comes from, by the way.
Really? Did not know that.
Ship of Fools is one of Robert's solo songs that he got to perform with his band before Zeppelin sort of played. Sort of. Not really.
Sort of Zeppelin, sort of played.
Sort of played. Sort of Zepp.
Look, there have been, what is it, four instances of Led Zeppelin post Led Zeppelin? Is it 4? Live
Could be
Aid,
a little more.
40, Hall of Fame, and Celebration.
Yeah, I think that's
2
fair.
are good. This isn't one of them.
What, 40th anniversary?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we're not there yet. But so yeah, Ship of Fools, I Love You. And I would take this whole record. That's my track. It was a hit record, by the way. Yeah, man, it's an epic song.
All right, I'm gonna give you my amazing feelings on why. Are you ready?
Cool. I'm ready.
You ready?
I'm ready.
Soft underbelly of a record. It is not necessary.
Yeah, Yacht Rock. Literally, Robert Plant does a Yacht Rock song. Might as well call
After
Dan
the Yacht Rock song.
Yeah, call Dan Fogelberg. And like, this is some neutered shit.
Why didn't Peter Criss guest on this track?
Right? Whom I
Look,
love.
you could have gotten Michael Bolton, Peter Criss, and Bruce Kulick, and Dan Fogelberg, and have the ultimate Yacht Rock tune.
Yeah, this is not a great song.
No, it's not. They tucked it away in the spot that it needed to be tucked away in.
Right. Fortunately, On the album proper, Closing, White, Clean, and Neat is a solid. It's about the same as kind of track as Billy's Revenge, a little slower, but it's basically an old school blues / R&B song, 60s, 50s R&B. Robert is fantastic vocally on his lower range here, like swaggering and swinging. That's what he likes. That's what he likes. That's where he wants to live more than anything. That's where he lives now. And it's a good track to go out on. The CD version has a cover that closes, Walking Towards Paradise, kind of nondescript as a cover. Robert should not do covers. It's like, I think it's kind of, other than blues covers, like in Zeppelin, and like when he did Crazy Little Thing Called Love at the Freddie Mercury tribute concert with Queen backing him, he really shouldn't do covers.
Yeah, I would agree
I don't
with
think
that.
he's good at them.
This song, as I mentioned earlier, this sounds like, as it should. This is not a diss by any stretch, but it sounds like a singer's solo record. And it sounds, and I know in the first Robert Plant album or episode we did, I said way too many times, this is 25% of Led Zeppelin. He's never going to be Led Zeppelin. And this feels like what exactly he wanted to do from day one after leaving Led Zeppelin. It's a great song. Don't get me wrong. But it's not my taste. It's not what I want. If this is what he wants to do, if this is what he feels legitimately worth doing, great, awesome, I love you. But I'm going to stop this at Ship of Fools going forward.
Okay. Generally speaking, I still think this is, I'm not counting Alison Krauss. I'm not counting Band of Joy. I'm just talking Robert Plant albums with his name only on it. Where does this record land for you?
For me, number 2, but what
over Behind Pictures?
Right behind Pictures, yeah. Okay. But it depends on what you want to talk about, because is this a better quality record than Pictures? Yes. But it's not my favorite. Like, I can honestly say that the Black Album is probably the best record Metallica did, but it's among my least favorites. It's just not my record. Pictures feels like the next Led Zeppelin record. It really does. It feels it's in the exact same line of evolution. This eschews all that. And Led Zeppelin is, it's not even arguable. Definitively, Led Zeppelin is definitively one of the greatest bands of all time. Of course, there are controversies, there are issues. Plagiarism comes to mind. However, they were able to take those songs that were popular music wise, skips in the pond, and turn them into seismic fissures because of what they could do with them. I love this record. I really do. And it's just not my personal favorite.
I get you. It is my personal favorite. It
Real
is
quick,
my own.
Legitimate notes.
Yeah, that's a lot of notes. This is my personal favorite Robert record. I said that before. I probably would have this one, the next one, Pictures, Principle, everything else. But we're going to talk about next week. Next week, I will say that I would throw away, let's just call it 9, Closing with White, Clean, and Neat. And I would probably throw away 2 or 3 of these. And this record is still a B+ to me.
I would throw away a couple of tracks. I think the best
things are the best. Yeah.
I would like to see a couple of the tracks fleshed out more.
Mm.
We didn't have any of that classic kind of 6-minute, 7-minute, 8-minute track, which, although I guess when you look back on those long tracks in Led Zeppelin, none of them were because Robert Plant was singing or had so many lyrics. Never mind, I rescind.
No, I understand. Critics were mixed on this record, by the way. So the fact that we're mixed on this record makes a lot of sense.
it's a mixed record. I mean, that's fair.
It's a mixed bag, but it's better than it. Certainly, Shaken and Stirred is horrible.
It's a lot better than it could have been, it's a lot better than what came before, and it was not as good as what it could have been.
Yeah.
When, and I mean, I'm gonna repeat myself, and I'm sorry. I was trying to do a Dan Aykroyd there. I probably failed miserably. No, Steve Martin. I apologize, Steve Martin. He will always be connected to Led Zeppelin. He will always be Robert Plant, Led Zeppelin. I mean, that's how we all hear it. And no one is going to be able to make an album as good as any of those 10 records.
Mm.
So every album that Robert Plant is going to do is always going to feel like a failure just to the critics, frankly, because...
Well, that's critics for you also.
Correct. I mean,
but
it's
a collection of entitled prima donna D-bags who don't know how to write one song, can't make a chord, can't play a kazoo.
It's gonna feel like a failure to a significant number of legitimate people as well.
Well, I mean, like, again, imagine, we talked about this in the first episode, imagine being Robert and having to combat the image you spent 10 years making, 12 years making, that is burned into everybody's brain. That song remains the same, shirtless, vest, ripping the crotch.
Oh.
Robert, does anybody remember Laughter with this stuff going on with the hand? And like, you have to combat that.
How many bands, artists, whatever, have been able to shake off something like that?
Few.
I can think of the Beastie Boys.
Few, very few.
And it took so the Beastie Boys did License to Ill, as we referenced earlier, where they were pretending to be party boys, and they weren't. So they go to their next record and completely change, and what happens? It fails on a spectacular level because people were not ready for it.
Mm.
So Robert Plant, instead of flipping the script on day one, start slowly changing letters. The I's become E's. The S's become Z's. And before you know, after it, at the fourth record, it's completely different, but it feels so familiar. It sounds like the Led Zeppelin we always knew, even though it's nothing like it. That is absolute genius. Slowly, quietly, because as we've discussed multiple times, he was 32? 32 when Pictures at 11 comes out. Ace Frehley was in his late 30s when his first record comes out. First solo record.
You probably should stop comparing Ace Frehley to Robert Plant, though.
I know, I just know the name.
I know, you can't help yourself. I love Ace Frehley.
Okay, so Ozzy Osbourne was 35 when Blizzard comes out, and somebody else writes the whole thing for him. Multiple guys write the whole thing.
I mean, he made the melodies. He sang them.
Did he?
He did, though.
Did he make them?
He did, though. Randy wrote those with him.
Did he? Okay. Randy.
Well, yeah, but you can't just give him all the. I mean, like, I don't know. I think we've reached the end here this week.
That's fair. Next week we will finish off the Robert Plant saga with Manic Nirvana. Okay, Keefy's done. So this is the Glacially Musical Podcast. It doesn't play in Peoria. Thank you for listening or watching.